All right, it is now May, and it's time for SRD Ringside. And by the way, guys, just as a heads up, Ray probably has finished over 500. I'm not sure entirely as of yet, but I have confidence that if he does his Boston Slam correctly, I think he'll be continuing to go over 500. But either way, SRD Ringside. Thank you, everybody who was listening, by the way. April was their best month as we climbed over the 250, 300 download range. So congratulations to you guys on that. Big month lying ahead. May. I mean, I know May is a lighter month than April. It is less fights on the agenda with the Kentucky Derby on this coming up weekend. There's a lot of stuff coming up in May. NBA playoffs in full swing, NHL playoffs. But boxing-wise, Ray, you told me it was kind of quiet.
Sorry, we had a pass off there. Yeah, April's a little bit busier than May shows to be. Before we dive into that, I'll touch on my Boston Slam. So essentially, on a very legal, very appropriate way to do gambling, I have a bet that the Celtics and the Bruins will both win, so you get the Boston Slam completing all 4 championships. My moderate buy-in will earn me quite a nice 4-digit payday. Odds aren't great. Currently, the Bruins are actually playing while we're speaking, but they're down 1-2 to the Jackets, and Bucks and the Celtics are tied 1-1. And really, let's be honest, my better bet is the Bruins because whoever wins in the East loses to the Warriors anyway. So either way, yeah, May, while it is numerically a little bit lighter on the schedule, it does have 2 real big important fights. Before we get to that, let's recap April real quick. To answer Roger's question of how I did, there was 20 picks in April. I got 17 of them for 85% correct rate. I think that puts me at 3 months in a row of a mid-80s. So speaking of online gambling, holler at your boy. We'll talk. And for a moderate consulting fee, can we call it that? A moderate consulting fee.
Assignments.
Yeah, I will help you. I will help you win some boxing bets and tell you which ones to stay the hell away from. So let me burn through April, the news, the recap real fast. Lomachenko rolled over Krolla as we're much we were expecting to have happen. But since then, a lot of trash talk with Tank Davis. I really hope they make that fight because I really don't like Tank Davis, and I don't think Tank Davis can handle him. Don't get me wrong. Tank Davis is an incredible A-plus, world-class talented fighter, but Lomachenko is in a whole other category. So make that happen if you can. That'd be great. I want to see Tank lose. We will dive in deeper on Brad's portion, but Clarissa Shields absolutely destroyed Christina Hammer. Crawford Khan, weird ending to that fight. Crawford did stray a little bit low onto the upper thigh-ish hip area. Khan playing it as a low blow. I guess I used the word playing because I imply that he was faking it. But Khan selling it as a low blow seemed to feel like they were going to not continue and he would go to the cards maybe. There was definitely some confusion. And then his trainer, Virgil Hunter, was yelling up from the ring. They were yelling up to him, do you want to continue? There's all this confusion with the doctor jumping up. And then all of a sudden the fight's over. And wouldn't you know it, it's not how that works. That's a TKOW for Mr. Crawford. But that's a weird end to a fight. And I know Khan's been stretched out a couple of times and his chin has been sort of mocked. But that's not a thing that's really in his character as a fighter. I don't know. I mean, Crawford was working him. The thing I didn't like that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth is after all the dust settled, Khan then came out and had that statement on Twitter where he said that the fight was about to turn and it was, Crawford was slowing down. And that's the kind of thing that always hits me wrong. Like, man, you were getting worked over and you faked an injury on a sideways low blow. I mean, unless Khan's got a 9-incher hanging off to the side, I don't understand how that's like actually a low blow. And you didn't even take the full 5 minutes, which you get. You get 5 minutes, so take it all. And then at the end of 5 minutes, you're like, oh, man, medically I can't continue. Then I guess there's not much we can say to you. But you didn't even take the 5. So I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, Mr. Khan, particularly because I was like, man, he could make a good fight out of this. He's got a lot of speed. It'd be a fun fight to watch. No, it really wasn't. Crawford rolls on. The Crawford train continues. On that undercard, man, let me continue to pump Teofimo Lopez. God, is the sky the limit for that dude. Fantastic fighter, explosive, everything you want. Lots of energy, lots of charisma. Good fight. So real quick, we'll touch on the Jarrell Miller bullshit. I don't use foul language on this much, but I will for this. Good Lord. So the guy pops dirty for 3 different banned substances on 3 different banned tests. And there's a lot of hemming and hawing over what's going to happen to him because, wouldn't you know it, he wasn't actually a sanctioned fighter with the New York State Athletic Commission, so New York can't suspend him. So since they can't suspend him, none of the other commissions can mock what they do, because usually, as you guys are probably aware, say if Vegas suspends you for a year, all the other major commissions also suspend you for a year, so you have to serve that time nationwide. Well, since he wasn't a legal sanctioned boxer because they let his license lapse, New York couldn't actually levy a fine. They can't do anything about it until he tries to apply for a license, and then they can initiate a suspension. So since they can't make a suspension, none of the other commissions could really do anything about it. Finally, after a bunch of public pressure, the WBA suspends him for 6 months. Woohoo! Wouldn't you know it? It was retroactive back to March when he first had the Pop Dirty test, the first test that popped dirty. So he really is only going to be suspended for like 4 months and some change, which by the time they find him an opponent and do a 12-week training camp, wouldn't you know it, Brad, it's almost like he didn't even get suspended. Now he's still out his $8 million payday or whatever is against AJ, and it's certainly going to make it harder for him to find a valid opponent in the top 5 because no one's going to really want to really mess with him right now, particularly when you have a situation where they're kind of playing musical chairs and they're running out of seats. There's a lot of really good heavyweights right now that are all trying to get cracks at the other top heavyweights. So to give up your seat at the table, if you will, by doing something stupid, I don't know who he's going to end up fighting in the fall, but basically it's like he's never suspended. Screw Big Baby Miller. That's a bunch of nonsense. In the wake of it, though, AJ is going to, Anthony Joshua is going to sign to fight Andy Ruiz as the replacement. That's actually a pretty good replacement opponent on that kind of notice. Andy Ruiz isn't really a world killer by any means, but that's way better than what it could have been. They could have pulled Joe Schmo out of the cab driving committee in London and just put him in front of AJ. But Ruiz is a live body, man. That's a good replacement opponent. I can deal with that. Big shocker loss with Shriskat Sorungvasai. Surprising loss in that fight. I'm assuming we'll get a rematch out of that. We'll see what comes with that. Regis Prograis continues to steamroll. We rolled through that junior welterweight bout. That guy's also like on that level with Teofimo Lopez. Anytime Regis Prograis fights, you should watch it. Sorry to Robert Easter, who we have the love for all over in the world, but Robert Easter and Rancis Bartholomew sucked.
Dunk out.
And I saw nothing on Twitter but this. I saw round 2 fell asleep, woke up at the end, didn't care who won, and that's about that. That's about what that fight was. It was like 52 punches landed in a 12-round bout in that weight class. Don't ever fight each other ever again. I don't want Rancis Bartholomew and Robert Easter in the same Denny's ever again, let alone in the ring together. And then wrapping up April, Effie Ajaba, that heavyweight, you guys know I'm real big on him, really pushing. Beats Amir Mansour, beats Wallish. Those are fine opponents, but now we know what he's got. We know we can overpower guys like that. I'm ready to kind of see a nice, decent step up. He doesn't really need more numbers. I don't need to see 10 more fights. I think he's getting close to where he can kind of start making a dent and get close to like a top 10 kind of guy. So let's burn through the May schedule real quick. May 4th, Stockton, California on ESPN. It is the nice little Friday night card on ESPN. Opening that card is a title fight. Well, opening the title fights of that night is Jerwin Ancajas versus Yurichi Funai. 12-round bout for Ancajas' IBF junior bantamweight title. By saying Ancajas, pluralizing Ancajas is hard. That's a junior bantamweight title fight. I'm going to take Ancajas by a late rounds TKO. Funai's not really experienced enough, I don't believe, in this fight. I don't think he's seen anybody like Ancajas. And then the main event, Artur Beterbiev versus Radivoje Kalidžis. That's such a tough word. A tough thing, man. I nailed it, though. They call him Hot Rod Kalidžis. It's a 12-round bout. It's going to be for Beterbiev's IBF light heavyweight title. I know, Kalidži's got a loss to Marcus Brown. It's a solid opponent to lose to, but I'm actually going to go all in on Hot Rod to get an upset here. I've never been a huge guy at Beterbiev. I think he kind of chewed up on sort of middle opposition. So I'm going to take a little upset here and take a late rounds TKO loss for Beterbiev. And then May 4th, and I said May 4th was a Friday. I don't know how calendars work. May 4th is definitely a Saturday. Okay, it's been a long day. I'm really sorry. On DAZN, the fight most of you will be watching. I guess maybe you could DVR the Beterbiev fight because you're probably going to be watching the Canelo Alvarez Danny Jacobs fight. So I'm gonna pass this mic over to Brad to get his opinion on this, but I'm gonna make my statement on this fight. I think Danny Jacobs can definitely win this fight. Danny Jacobs is a very good boxer puncher. Danny Jacobs is massively bigger than Canelo Alvarez is. Danny Jacobs could easily go to light heavyweight, like without much trouble. I think he could take a fight at super and go right to 175. He's a huge middleweight who can punch, who can also box. Here's the problem. You have a showdown with Triple G looming in the fall for the third of the fights with Canelo. I am under the impression that Danny Jacobs is going to have to decapitate Canelo and show the crowd his severed head to get a W in this. I don't know how he can win a fight on the cards. Those cards feel like they're already laminated and they're already sent in 116, 112 for Canelo. I don't know if Danny can actually get a fair shake on the cards in this fight. He's the huge underdog. He's not going to be the money favorite. If he were to win, the rematch with Triple G can't do anywhere near the numbers as a third fight with Canelo can do. Everyone's aware of this. So my thought is strategically, on paper, I actually think Danny Jacobs can win this fight, but I think to do so, he's going to either have to have multiple knockdowns, which is highly unlikely, or just flat out get a knockout. Brad?
And I agree exactly with that sentiment. The problem is the Canelo camp already knows this, and that's why they've mandated, and they didn't have to, but they did mandate the second-day weigh-in rule. So that means that the day of the fight, that Danny Jacobs, per the contract, cannot weigh no more than 170. And if he does, he's got it negotiated down of what the Canelo camp wanted was $250,000 fine per pound. Now that's down, negotiated to $100,000. So they see that exactly too. That Danny's coming in as a bigger man. He could easily step up. He's probably he's gonna catch Canelo with some of the heavier shit that Canelo's ever saw in his career, I think. But this is a scary fight for me. Looking at the last official press conference, maybe this is something that's just something from the old school. But Danny turned first. I mean, he turned first, and then he immediately struck a defensive posture when he crossed his arms. Now, psychologically, that tells me that maybe his head isn't 100% in this. So I think he can win. It's too early still yet for me to make a prediction. I have to see the weigh-in.
All right, sounds good. Either way, tune in. The undercard's but whatever. Maybe watch the Better BF fight while you're waiting for the main. I don't care. You do what you got to do. You're all adults out there. Do whatever you want. May 10th on Showtime. Got a nice main event on the Showbox card. It's actually a triple header. There's a bunch of undefeated prospects on that card, but the main event is Ruben Villa versus Luis Alberto Lopez. It's 10-round bout in the featherweight division. Villa's a really fun prospect to watch, but Lopez is upset-minded. Saw a couple of interviews with him this week, and he is not coming in as a guy that's there to lay down and make a dude look good. He is there to beat Villa and try to put take that O away and put a loss on there. I'm going to give Villa the nod by UD in that one, though. The next night on ESPN, May 11th, great couple of fights here. The supporting fight there's two title fights in that card. The supporting fight is Emmanuel Navarrete versus Isaac Dogboe. That's a rematch in that huge upset. It was back in December. That's for the WBO junior featherweight title. Dogboe was supposed to roll in that fight, and boy, didn't he. And I'm big on that guy. Dogboe's crazy good to watch, and he's a really, really great fighter, but he felt flat that night. Seemed very off, very slow, and Navarrete took advantage of all of that. So Dogboe is coming in hot, trying to get those belts back. I wouldn't miss this one. That's going to be a fantastic fight, and I will actually go with Dogboe to vanquish the loss. Maybe we get a third one depending on how this one shakes out. If it's another close one, might get a trilogy. In the main event, oh my God, the violence of Miguel Berchelt versus Francisco Vargas in their rematch. Good Lord, the first fight was nuts. There's 2,000 punches, combined punches thrown in that first bout, and it was absolute insanity. And I'm expecting the exact same thing out of these two. I love this fight. I like Miguel Berchelt. I'll always tune in when he's on. And with this matchup, I expect the same thing from the first fight. So please, ESPN, free cable. You don't got to worry about any streaming subscriptions or any of that extra pay nonsense. Just turn on ESPN. Check this one out. I'm going to take Berchelt by a late rounds TKO. May 11th on Fox. This is the other fight that I was saying. There's two big fights in May. I'm calling this the other big fight in May. Jarrett Hurd and Julian Williams. Man, I'm so ready for this fight. First of all, junior welterweight or junior middleweight is such a good division right now. Charlo, Tony Harrison's got a strap there. You got Hurd, you got Williams. There's a bunch of good fighters at 154. If you remember like early 2000s with like Oscar and Shane, Tito, that was such a good division, and it's kind of good, like not kind of good again. It's super good again. It's very stocked with really good, very hungry fighters. All of them want to fight each other, which is great news, and most of them are on the same network, so they can get most of these fights. Yeah, better news. They can get most of these fights done without too many roadblocks. Real quick though, opening up that card, the supporting fight before it, Mario Barros versus Juan Jose Velasco. It's a 10-round bout in the junior welterweight division. Good fight. Once beaten Velasco, his only loss is the Regis Prograis, which you shouldn't feel bad about because so did everybody else. Everyone else lost the Regis Prograis too, so don't feel shame about that. You know, I always made that joke about Ricky Hatton when it's like, hey, your losses are to Pacquiao and Floyd. I don't know. You can't feel real bad about yourself, dude. Like, right? Don't even sweat it, man. So check that one in the opener. But then the main event, Jarrett Hurd and Julian Williams. This is going to be for Hurd's IBF and WBA junior middleweight title. Such a good fight. I think it's going to get looked over, but the good part about it, I like that it's on Fox. Just straight Fox, not even like Fox Sports or anything like that. It's just on a regular old Fox. So it should be shown at bars. You'll kind of get some sports bars that might tune that one in that should hopefully get the ratings up because these guys are guys that would like really do well outside of the inner boxing circles. These guys would do well as just sports, as just like your casual sports fan that might tune into like an ESPN card or a Fox card. This is the kind of fight that I think would be good because, a lot of times they throw a card up on Fox and it ends up being a stinker and you're like, no, this is not what I want casual fans to see to draw them into the sport. You gave them poop and they're not going to tune back in. This could be one of those ones that helps tune up some ratings. I'm going to take Hurd, and I'm going to take Hurd by a late stoppage. I think he's going to add up some points early. My thought would be I think Hurd's going to outbox him early, and I think Williams, because he's the real puncher in the fight, even though both can punch, Williams is the puncher. I think Williams is going to start selling late for a knockout to try to save it, and I think it's going to leave him open, and Hurd can crack too. So that's kind of what my arc of the fight is. I think Hurd kind of gets some early rounds. Williams realizes, KO to win, opens himself up, gets caught with something, and, good night, sweet prince, I believe they say. I don't know. Stupid saying. Anyway, moving forward, May 17th, Belfast, Northern Ireland, as they call it. Ireland, if I'm the one saying it. That'll be on ESPN Plus. You should still have your subscription, $5 a month. Also, if you're a UFC fan, bad news. If you don't pay $5 a month, you can't watch pay-per-views at all. Biggest scam I ever heard in my life. So you can't, you see that? If you're not an ESPN Plus subscriber, you cannot get UFC. First of all, Brad, being someone who's in software development and knows a lot about this type of thing, my assessment, Brad, would be this is super stupid because, A, you're making all of your subscribers now pay $5 a month, and your casuals probably aren't going to do that unless they're already members. B, does it seem smart, previously when you have streaming services, AT&T, Xfinity, Sling, Hulu, all these other things that people can get their pay-per-views through, it seems very dumb to funnel all of your traffic through one app.
Stupid.
Right? So if something happens with that app or the servers get overloaded or whatever, how many X number of servers of users get blacked out because it wasn't just AT&T, it wasn't just Sling, it wasn't just YouTube TV. It was the only thing that's showing that pay-per-view. So, fun fact, UFC fans, Dana's putting it up your butt a little farther than he already has. But anyway, ESPN Plus, Belfast, Northern Ireland, May 17th, Ryan Burnett versus Gilbert Gomera. That's 12-round bout in junior featherweights. That's a nice little card on ESPN Plus. You're going to get two that night. They're going to be earlier for us folks here in the Eastern time zone or anywhere in the U.S. These are going to run at like 5 to 6 p.m.-ish. So I'm going to take Burnett, looking to bounce back from that loss to Donaire at weird back injury. He was going to probably lose that fight anyway because for the 4 rounds that did happen, Donaire was absolutely lacing him. But back injury pushed him out of that fight. He's healed up, looking to bounce back from the loss. I'll take Burnett by a late rounds TKO. Also on that ESPN streaming service that same night from England, so they'll probably run close to each other in time. Billy Joe Saunders fighting Shafat Asufi. That's a 12-round bout. He's going to jump to super middleweight, which is weird because I don't feel like Saunders took enough fights at middleweight. He absolutely clown showed on David Lemieux, and don't get me wrong, that was entertaining and hilarious. But, man, you still had fights at 60. I don't know if making weight became a thing where that was a problem, but he's going to 68, and his last fight was over the 68 limit. So, Shafat Asufi, got to be honest, Brad, until this fight got announced, I've never heard of him. Yeah, he's somewhere ranked in the WBO super middleweights, but I think with 10 fights, I could also find myself ranked somewhere in the WBO super middleweights. That's just kind of how that organization works. So I get it. This is cannon fodder for his debuting at 168 or second fight at 168. So I'll take Saunders by UD. He's still not a puncher. I don't know if he's going to knock this guy out. Part of me doesn't even care. May 18th, though, another decent fight on Showtime. You got Deontay Wilder fighting Dominic Breazeale. Wilder kind of waiting for that same previous game of musical chairs to resolve. He really wants AJ badly. Got to get that fight done. Also, he'd really like that rematch with Tyson Fury, which doesn't seem like it's happening anytime in 2019. So as much as you have these talented heavyweights hanging around waiting to fight each other, just make the damn fights. So Wilder will fight Brazil. I expect him to knock him out somewhere in the middle of the fight. I don't think Brazil's that good of a fighter. He's fine, but not going to do well against Wilder, and I don't think he's got the power to make anything happen with Wilder's sort of, Wilder gets wild in his big whooping punches, but Brazil's not good enough to make him pay. I'll take Wilder to win by mid-rounds TKO. Title fight before that is Gary Russell Jr. versus Kiko Martinez. I'll take Russell Jr. by unanimous decision. May 18th, same night on DAZN, the other streaming service you should also be subscribing to. By the way, stop cherry picking the monthly pay-per-views because the way they're doing it now, they restructure the payment. So if you subscribe to DAZN for the year, it's $99.99, which makes it like eight and some change a month. But if you only subscribe for the month of a pay-per-view, it's $20. Oh. So if you're already a member, don't bitch because you're going to pay less. It's no longer $9.99 a month for subscribers that have had it. It's now like $8.88 or whatever the change is. But yeah, if you wait for like, oh man, there's a big pay-per-view in June, I'm gonna hold off and just subscribe. It'll now cost you $20 just for a single month of subscription. There's a title fight opening that main event. It is Emmanuel Rodriguez versus Naoya Inoue. God, his name's brutal, and I can't speak. 12-round bout for Rodriguez's IBF bantamweight title. This is one of the World Boxing Super Series semifinals. This is going to be violent, man, and I'm going to take Inoue. He is a huge puncher. I love watching this dude fight. I think he puts Rodriguez to sleep. I'm going to take him by a mid-rounds TKO. And then the main event of that, also in the World Boxing Super Series semifinals. That's going to be the junior welterweight division for Ivan Barancek's IBF junior welterweight title. He's fighting Josh Taylor. 12-round bout, obviously. There was some weird Barancek's in, Barancek's out, Barancek's in, Barancek's out. He was going to leave the Super World Boxing Super Series. They got a ton of financial troubles right now, and he was kind of leaving over some arguments over payment and how they were going to get payment and what he was going to get paid. Dust is settled. He has rejoined, thankfully. He's going to fight fellow unbeaten fighter Josh Taylor. I like Barancek in this bout, but unfortunately the winner has bad news because whoever wins fights Regis Prograis. So it's sort of like a you win, you lose type scenario because I don't know if either of them can beat Prograis. So Prograis watching intently to see who wins this bout to end up fighting him. You'll get that somewhere late summer, early fall. But I'm going to take Barancek by unanimous decision. May 25th from Kissimmee, Florida. Masayuki Ito versus Jamal Herring. It's for Ito's WBO junior lightweight title. I got Ito by UD. Undercard of that is Jose Pedraza versus Antonio Lozada. That's a 10-round lightweight bout. I'll take Pedraza by unanimous decision. He looked pretty formidable in the Lomachenko fight, but who the hell's going to beat Lomachenko? Lomachenko could beat Lomachenko, but maybe that's it. Same night, May 25th on Fox Sports 1. I'm sorry if I didn't mention it. That Ito Herring fight's on ESPN. So you got two fights on cable that night. Fox Sports 1's got a card with Austin Trout versus Terrell Gausha. 10 rounds in the junior middleweight division. I have no clue what Trout may or may not have left in the tank, but I'm actually going to go with Gausha on this one. I'm going to take Gausha by a UD because I don't think Trout's got it, and I don't think he's got anything left. I know this is that fight to find out what he may or may not have left, and I don't think it's it. I think he's kind of done. He had some tough fights, man. He had some tough fights with some tough losses. The mileage is rough. The last fight, his face looked real bad. He looked lumpy. So I'm going to take Gausha by UD. And then closing out the month is same night, May 25th. God, you got 3 fights that night. DAZN, ESPN, and Fox Sports 1. Alexander Usyk gonna make his heavyweight debut. And Carlos Takam, that's fine. That's a fine. Let's figure out if this cruiserweight can be a heavyweight. My concern isn't Carlos Takam, though, and I know Usyk has all the skills in the world, man. He's such a very good technical, very, very good crafty fighter. But, man, he's 6'3", and you beat a guy like Takam. Maybe you beat a couple other dudes like Takam to really get yourself established at the heavyweight division, and then every one of your top 4 opponents are no shorter than 6'6". At best, you're fighting someone who's 6'6". At worst, you're fighting someone who's like 6'7", 290. You know what I mean? So I don't know if Usyk, I get the idea, cruiserweights have done this for infinity because once they kind of own their division, you realize the money is north. So when you're not getting paid very well, and you've already kind of dominated your weight class. The easy, the easy allure is to stop cutting and eat some pasta and show up at 215, 220. You know what I mean? And try to battle the big boys. Chris Byrd did very well for a pretty good period of time, but again, when he runs into size, that's kind of where the train stops. So I'm interested to see what he does against a guy like Takam, even though I clearly expect a win. I'm going to take Usyk by unanimous decision. But it's not a guy like Takam that concerns me. It's the guys 3 from Takam when he starts to really hit into those top 5, top 6 guys, and you're fighting guys that are, these guys are built like defensive ends. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are massive. Jarrell Miller for all of his steroids, but Jarrell Miller's 6'4", 300 pounds. Excuse me. So I want to see what Usyk does. I get it. Take the money. And I'm going to pass over. That's everything for the April recap and May's picks. Glad we were all super right about Clarissa, and I'm going to hand over to Brad, who's going to cover local.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope it's been a good month since we spoke last. Jumping right into the amateur side of things and continuing tournament season. A couple weeks ago, we jumped off and concluded the 2019 Detroit Golden Gloves. There were 17 bouts fought, and the team is actually headed down to Chattanooga, Tennessee this week for the National Golden Gloves. So that's taking place at Chattanooga Convention Center May 5th through the 11th. And so wish them luck if you see them on the streets or in the gyms, if you catch this in time, and give them good well wishes and a send-off. So continuing with that, there's 3 shows this month on the amateur side. On Saturday, May 4th, Azteca Boxing Team is holding the May Boxing Night, and this is at the Azteca Boxing Club, 195 West Montcalm in Pontiac, Michigan. And this fight, what time is this fight at? Showtime is at 6 p.m., and you can contact Robert Wright for that at our right, it is aztecaonline.org. So next time I'll bring my glasses so I can actually see what my notes are. And moving forward with that is a National Golden Gloves tournament. And that's out of town, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Once again, please reach out to the team if you see them and wish them well. Saturday, May 18th through the 19th is another big tournament in Michigan. It's the Junior Olympics. This is one of the largest tournaments for the little bitty amateurs. And this is where, and I've said it many times on the show, on Sports Radio Detroit, SRD Ringside, that this is where you really get to see heart come out. And these kids are, you get to see them 8 years to 16 years old, and they bang. And it's really good to see them. They put everything into it. You can watch them grow. So Saturday and Sunday, May 8th, 18th, and 19th. And this is hosted by A Square Fight Club. The event is going to be at 2019. Oh, and I'm sorry. That's the event. 2019 State Championships. It's located at the Central Academy at 2459 South Industrial Highway, and that's in Ann Arbor. Ray, you said you had a long week this week, huh?
Yeah.
I don't think it trumps mine.
No?
I can't even keep focused right now. Coming on in here, we were talking. You had made some mention about some Jameson, and that's been on my mind ever since. And I think that threw me off. I think it threw me off. Yeah, I think that's what's going on right now. So, oh God, let's do it. So Ray and I are going to drink next show, and we're going to get it drinking it. Yep, and then it's going to be Recovery July. So Wednesday, May 22nd, Casa de Boxeo, our good friends Renee Munez, Ansel Stewart, and Paul Watson are throwing the Thrilla at the Villa, and this is at Villa Pena. 43985 Hayes Road in Sterling Heights, Michigan. So if you're looking to get on a show and you are an amateur fighter, reach out to Renee at 313-303-7164. And that really does wrap it up for the amateur side of things. There's not much going on. It is tournament season, so the shows have kind of slowed down, and we're rolling out the tournaments before the big summer break. So on to the professional side of things, which there's not much going on there either. There's one show this month scheduled for May 18th, and that is hosted by Second to None Promotions, and that's going to be Saturday, May 18th. The doors open at 7, showtime at 7, doors open at 6, and it's at the Ford Community and Performing Arts Center, 15801 Michigan Avenue, and that's in Dearborn, Michigan. And these shows are pretty good. That's a pretty good open venue. Very, very fun, very lax venue, very chill. So show your support for local boxing. No lineup as of yet, but we'll put it out there as soon as we get it. So moving on into Claressa Shields. I will say, admittedly, that I thought the fight was going to be a little bit more competitive. I actually drank the Kool-Aid, so kudos to the promotion team that forced that down my throat. But damn did Clarissa not clean house and do exactly what most people thought, she was going to do, except for me. And shout out to Pete Spivak for nailing that decision. I mean, he called it to a T 100%. So extremely accurate there. I thought it was going to be more competitive. Can anybody stop Clarissa Shields at this point? And where does she go next, Ray? What happens now?
Rumor I've heard is catch weight with Cecilia Brockhouse. But that is pure rumor. That's just talking. Everyone's talking.
Well, a little bit of buzz is better than no buzz at all. So that's a very interesting fight. So what are your thoughts on that? Coming with Brockhouse, I mean, is this just chasing people at this point, or is this a legitimate competition here?
That's her best bet. Katie Taylor, Michaela May are too small, so you're never going to make that. But this is the only competitive fight for her. In any weight class, 2 north or 2 south, Cecilia is the only one that's even competitive. So I think Clarissa beats her. But what I'm hoping happens in the next 3 years, and thank God Clarissa's still young enough to wait for this to happen, is, remember like when Ronda first got into UFC, Ronda was ripping girls' arms off and smacking them with it. And then over time, because there was a better pool of competition, it attracted a better pool of competition. And people like Amanda Nunes, Holly Holm, you get a lot of bigger names, Paige Van Zandt, all these names that you now know you didn't really know very well when Ronda first came in. And they created a division for her in UFC. So I'm hoping that happens with boxing, where girls that are boxing might be more serious about it, might train more to be a professional, realize there's money out there, there's girls on Showtime main eventing it, and the competition pool will fill itself out because of this. I'm hoping.
Interesting, too, about that, I saw some rumors that Dana White might be stepping into the boxing world, so that could open up doors to that different group of fighters coming in as well. And the future is interesting with that. And I'm going to say something. I'm going to call it out. This is kind of a touchy argument in women's boxing, period. And you'll get most people are going to be on either 50-50 of the fence here. You're not going to get a majority of any one group of people that are going to agree on this decision. But if they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in a women's fight, and they're going to do it in a women's championship fight, and they're going to do it at catch weight, and we know that Clarissa is just walking through the people. She's beating everybody in and around her weight right now. She has the straps. She's two-time gold medalist. 3-minute rounds.
12 rounds. 3-minute rounds.
3-minute rounds.
And wear the same size gloves.
3-minute rounds. Give it to us. Let's make it fair. Let's make it competitive. And this would be good to see. So I'll throw it out there now. Promoters, think about it. If you're moving Clarissa Shields or you're moving Brockhouse, this could be the time to shine. You could legitimately have a part in history by turning the corner here. And I think giving the women fighters the respect as boxers that they want. They're asking for it. The fans are asking for it. So let's make it happen. Other than that, there's nothing else really jumping off on the local scene. There is talk about a tentative date of June 23rd for the Harrison-Charlo rematch.
Yeah.
No venue yet that's really confirmable. I like June 23rd. I'll be out of town June 23rd. It's the day before my birthday, so it's Brad's birthday eve. I want everybody to celebrate that moment with a shot of Jameson. Mm-hmm. It sounds good to me. So that's it. There's nothing else jumping off on the local scene. Ray, you got anything else?
No. Give him the Twitter handle, Brad. Follow Brad.
Follow Brad at KillerB313 and follow Ray as well, a.k.a. Oliver Twist, on Twitter and wherever else you can find us. Just don't go to 8chan because we don't go there. And we'll see you next month.
All right. Bye.